Once upon a time, in a magical kingdom far, far away, there was a queen. She wasn't the fairest in the land, but that had no impact on her ability to rule and is completely irrelevant. She was, however, quite smart and cared deeply about her kingdom. Our story begins 1 year ago. The queen had just returned from a quest to find the mysterious treasure of Brooke Owens. It was said that anyone who found it would bring peace and prosperity to every kingdom in the realm. The queen had almost succeeded in finding the treasure, but had ultimately made her way home empty-handed. However, she had learned much in her travels and was not discouraged. She returned to her castle full of ideas, excited to build up her kingdom into a beautiful, successful, and diverse place. The queen loved science and decided to mount an expedition to explore the great sky. Working as the chief scientist, the queen led a team of the finest minds in the realm. The queen often met with rulers from other kingdoms to discuss the future of the realm. They wrote a proclamation that the queen was to present later that year at a meeting of all the world's rulers. The queen also cared greatly about science education for the young people in her kingdom. She was a music lover and taught herself how to play a new instrument so that she could form a musical ensemble with some of her friends. All was well when a grave plague suddenly befell the land. A dark shadow settled over them as the queen was forced to isolate her kingdom and postpone all of her royal projects. It was hard, but the queen did her best to keep her kingdom running. She lost two of her most trusted royal advisors. But she gained a wonderful new member of the court. She took over the planning of future scientific expeditions, trying to figure out how they could continue to explore without being able to travel to other kingdoms. The queen also created several new royal projects to keep the citizens of her kingdom busy. It seemed like the kingdom was beginning to recover from the plague when a new disaster struck. Taking advantage of the queen's distracted and vulnerable state, an invader snuck into the kingdom. It was the deplorable Sir Patriarchy, accompanied by his lackeys, self-doubt, and anxiety. He'd invaded many times before, spreading a misogyny potion across the kingdom and cursing the queen with imposter syndrome. Sir Patriarchy's magic was strong, and even as the queen worked hard, she would find herself being talked over and ignored by her royal scientists. Even on the projects and expeditions that the queen herself had created, the scientists stopped asking her for input and including her when making decisions, and instead divided all the work amongst themselves. She began to doubt her own skills as a scientist and as a leader, wondering if maybe she should just stick to diplomacy instead. The queen found herself paralyzed, so worried about what other people thought of her, so concerned that her subjects would think she was ignorant or stupid that she couldn't say anything. She wanted so much to be a role model and to protect all the young girls in her kingdom from Sir Patriarchy, but sometimes it seemed so impossible. But she could not let him win. She couldn't stand back and watch everything she'd worked so hard to build be destroyed. With the help of trusted colleagues who had managed to stay free from Sir Patriarchy's influence, she stayed up all night building a truth machine that could radiate enough energy to protect her whole kingdom. As the sun rose, the queen finally, triumphantly turned on her machine. Without his lies to protect him, Sir Patriarchy suddenly found himself defenseless. Terrified, he turned and fled the kingdom, taking his ignorance with him. As the people cheered and celebrated, the queen surveyed her kingdom and reflected. Despite the plague, the kingdom had grown substantially over the past year. The people were wiser and happier, and the queen herself had grown more confident as a scientist and as a leader. She knew that her battle with Sir Patriarchy was far from over, and that the effects of his attack would take a long time to fade away. But the queen had fought him many times before and knew that she could again. To celebrate the victory, she decided to embark upon the most exciting royal expedition yet. Feeling better and stronger than she had in a long time, the queen decided she was ready to begin the quest for the treasure of Brooke Owens once again. And this time she vowed she would bring the treasure home.